Part 8. How I Conquered Worry. 31 True Stories. 6 Major Troubles Hit Me All at Once by C.I. Blackwood. In the summer of 1943, it seemed to me that half the worries of the world had come to rest on my shoulders. For more than 40 years, I had lived a normal, carefree life with only the usual troubles which come to a husband, father, and businessman. I could usually meet these troubles easily, but suddenly, wham, 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 6 major troubles hit me all at once. I pitched and tossed and turned in bed all night long, half dreading to see the day come, because I faced these 6 major worries. 1, my business college was trembling on the verge of financial disaster because all the boys were going to war and most of the girls were making more money working in war plants without training than my graduates could make in business offices with training. 2, my older son was in service, and I had the heart-numbing worry common to all parents whose sons were away at war. 3, Oklahoma City had already started proceedings to condemn a large tract of land for an airport, and my home, formerly my father's home, was located in the center of this tract. I knew that I would be paid only 1/10 of its value, and what was even worse, I would lose my home, and because of the housing shortage, I worried about whether I could possibly find another home to shelter my family of 6. I feared we might have to live in a tent. I even worried about whether we would be able to buy a tent. 4, the water well on my property went dry because a drainage canal had been dug near my home. To dig a new well would be throwing $500 away because the land was already being condemned. I had to carry water to my livestock in buckets every morning for 2 months, and I feared I would have to continue it during the rest of the war. 5, I lived 10 miles away from my business school, and I had a Class B gasoline card. That meant I couldn't buy any new tires, so I worried about how I could ever get to work when the superannuated tires on my old Ford gave up the ghost. 6, my eldest daughter had graduated from high school a year ahead of schedule. She had her heart set on going to college, and I just didn't have the money to send her. I knew her heart would be broken. One afternoon, sitting in my office worrying about my worries, I decided to write them all down, for it seemed no one ever had more worries than I had. I didn't mind wrestling with worries that gave me a fighting chance to solve them, but these worries all seemed to be utterly beyond my control. I could do nothing to solve them. So I filed away this typewritten list of my troubles, and as the months passed, I forgot that I'd ever written it. 18 months later, while transferring my files, I happened to come across this list of my 6 major problems that had once threatened to wreck my health. I read them with a great deal of interest and profit. I now saw that not one of them had come to pass. Here's what happened to them. 1, I saw that all my worries about having to close my business college had been useless, because the government had started paying business schools for training veterans, and my school was soon filled to capacity. 2, I saw that all my worries about my son in service had been useless. He was coming through the war without a scratch. 3, I saw that all my worries about my land being condemned had been useless, because as soon as I knew my land would not be condemned, I spent the money necessary to dig a new well to a deeper level and found an unfailing supply of water. 5, I saw that all my worries about my tires giving out had been useless, because by recapping and careful driving, the tires had managed somehow to survive. 6, I saw that all my worries about my daughter's education had been useless, because just 60 days before the opening of college, I was offered, almost like a miracle, an auditing job which I could do outside of school hours, and this job made it possible for me to send her to college on schedule. I'd often heard people say that 90% of the things we worry and stew and fret about never happen, but this old saying didn't mean much to me until I ran across that list of worries I'd typed out that dreary afternoon 18 months previously. I'm thankful now that I had to wrestle in vain with those 6 terrible worries. That experience has taught me a lesson I'll never forget. It's shown me the folly and tragedy of stewing about events that haven't happened, events that are beyond our control and may never happen. Remember, Today is the tomorrow you worried about yesterday. Ask yourself, how do I know this thing I'm worrying about will really come to pass?